Eglinton, for example. But I think that our job is to try and get that stuff done with a minimum of disruption to people. And the fact is, while there might have been some doubt way back last July, that subsequent to that, the engineers and people at Metrolinx and the TTC working together have found a solution. The solution was in a public report presented to the Executive Committee of the city, and therefore that story to me was a needless scaring of people into thinking they were going to lose their transit when that was not the case. Never, it just hasn't been the case for months now.
Mayor Tory, are you going to commit to keeping this, if you win a second term, are you going to keep this pledge of inflationary property tax increases only? And is that a prudent idea given the gamble the city is taking with the land transfer tax?
I will just say that what I will commit to doing if I'm given a second term in office is to continue to responsibly manage the financial affairs of the city, as I have done with my colleagues. We do this together. But the kind of leadership I will provide will have a great focus on continuing to keep Toronto an affordable city for people who live here in every respect possible, and to balance that against all the needs that we have to expand and improve services for people, whether it be housing and homelessness or whether it be public transportation and all the other things that we do. Exactly the positions I take with respect to financial management or anything else during the election campaign will, I guess, be put forward when the election campaign starts.
You would rule out then if you had to raise property taxes more because the city ran out of land transfer tax revenue?
You know, again, I don't generally answer these hypothetical questions because you could say, all kinds of things about what if this and what if that. I will only say to you that I think people know that I am a balanced person in terms of my approach to financial management and everything else, that I very much recognize the need for the city to be responsibly managed, but at the same time for us to address the needs, especially of those who are struggling, and that I will continue, if I'm given the privilege, to run the city in the way that I have before, which is responsible, balanced, taking into account the needs and taking into account the need to make sure that I have a significant majority, hopefully, of my council colleagues who agree with me, because they, in the end, have the final decision.
On the sales tax vote yesterday at council, can you explain that? Do you think that the problem is we want to give the city a share of the sales tax, and why not support Councilor Matthew's motion to
One of the things I think that hopefully you've recognized after all this time with me is that when somebody puts forward a motion, it doesn't matter which councillor it is, but somebody puts forward a motion saying they've picked, the best way in which the city could raise more money, and that they're just doing it on the fly, as it were, with a motion. It's the same one he did put forward last year, so it's not inconsistent on his part, and I'm not being critical of him. I'm just saying I just don't think that's the best way to make public policy. When we picked the road tolls to go forward with, and the council made what I think was a very courageous vote to step forward with that, it was after exhaustive consideration, exhaustive advice received from our public service staff. We have a report coming to the city's executive committee, I believe, in a month or two, that deals with the city's long-term financial future. And I think that is the way in which we should go about examining what options we have to provide for our own needs for public transportation and housing and other things like that. Whereas the first part of the motion, which I supported, said that we're calling upon the province to give us a share of their existing HST revenue. And, frankly, to me, it doesn't matter where it comes from, whether they give us a share of the gas tax revenue, the income tax, the corporate tax, the sales tax, the HST. I just know we need them to step up now to an extent greater than they have and support the transit and housing needs of this city. This city has regional responsibilities. People come to Toronto from around the region to have some of their needs looked after, especially when they're struggling. And I'm not being critical of that, it's just a fact. And the sooner that the province accepted the reality that this is a city that meets regional needs. People who are homeless, for example, from all over the region come here. People use our transportation system from all over the region. And the sooner they back that up with their money, instead of asking the taxpayers of Toronto alone to finance that, the better off everybody will be, including people in the 905 who use the transit and people in 905 who may be homeless and need support. I want to provide them with that support if that's where it's going to be provided. But I certainly don't think it's fair to ask Toronto taxpayers to provide all those services and supports to people when they're coming from somewhere else and they're not contributing to it, and when the province itself is not making what I believe to be an adequate contribution to the cost of providing those services.
Off topic, Jerry Howard just announced he's going to retire from broadcasting a long time ago. Jay announcer, 71, out of health reasons. few other things. Just your thoughts on that.
You know, we were blessed. If you look at the history of our baseball team, we've had the late Tom Cheek, who was not only a wonderful broadcaster who did thousands of games, and I can still hear his voice in my own head, but he was a great citizen of the city as well. And Jerry Howarth is the same way. I mean, Jerry Howarth is just a part of the Blue Jays. He's a part of Toronto. He's a wonderful, accomplished broadcaster. He's a friendly, warm person, and he has taken a keen interest in the life of his city, which it's now become. And so, you know, broadcasters come and go as politicians do, as athletes do. He's a very special person, and we will miss him. But, you know, most important is that he should live many, many more years in good health. And if that's going to be contributed to by his coming off that daily grind. We forget. We think what a great job it would be to sit there and call play-by-play on a baseball game. It's hard work. You're traveling all the time. The games, there's 52 games or 160 games in a season. That's a lot of work. And he hardly ever misses a game. So I just think congratulations to Jerry Howarth. I'm sure I'll find a way as mayor to pay tribute to his many years of service. And I think he's brought us a lot of good luck. And hopefully he can bring us some good luck in 2018.
One last question. There was this study out of Carleton University about policing concerns that with things going viral, tribunals, you name it, a lot of cops are, at least some of them are thinking of not addressing issues because of this fear of getting in trouble. Is that a concern with Toronto Police, and how might that be addressed?
Well, it's a concern of mine as the mayor, but if you ask me about the Toronto Police, I would say, look, first of all, this is a tough, tough job that we ask police officers to do. And those men and women are under more scrutiny, and properly so, than ever before, because everybody's got a camera and there's cameras all over the place, and people are watching, people are mindful, as they should be, of their charter rights. So it's a tougher job than ever. But having said all that, there's a need for police officers, just like everybody else in the world, to adapt to change. I think they're doing it. I think we have a lot of work to do in the modernization of the police service, so that the whole idea of the modernization process is that more officers can spend more time in the community, being with people, and really addressing problems before they arise. And I think a lot of that is going to be training, and then more training to make sure that we can have people closer to people in the community, have police officers closer to people in the communities. In the meantime, whatever the study may say, I remain convinced that our police officers continue to do their jobs well. They continue to do those jobs proactively, and some suggestions that were made this morning to the effect that people almost drive by things that are going wrong in the city, I do not accept. I think that the police officers, whatever their anxieties are about change, are doing a good job for us and will continue to do so. We have to work with them to have better training, more training, and to have them understand, as I think they do, the mandate, which is to get them even closer to the community so that we can keep the city one of the safest in the world, which it is. Thank you very much.